Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Happy Hour Sports. My name is Sam Madrigal, where we talk about Orlando Magic basketball. And what a past two games for the Orlando Magic. Um, this team is looking like a whole new team. Uh, I've been a little bit out, been busy with a lot of things, but wow. I've been catching on. I've been catching on to the games and been watching them, the Detroit and the Charlotte game, and I gotta say, something about this team has definitely changed. Their defense looks better. Their offense looks better. Something inside them, the demeanor has changed in this team. And I've actually seen a lot of the stuff that has come out now. Apparently Jamal Mosley has showed them highlights of the players' old NCAA tournament plays and NCAA plays. Like guys like Jalen Suggs, Paulo Banchero, Franz Wagner, Jonathan Isaac, some of even the coaches' staff like Shamgod. Uh, and I guess that's just, but that somehow flipped the switch. It showed the potential that this team had and just the fun, the enjoyment, the development of these players have gone through, the hard work that they've put in. And it's changed it. It really has changed it with this team. The Magic, they were on the brink of elimination. It was Charlotte was coming into the Kia Center, with a lot of momentum, after beating the Miami Heat in an overtime game against them. They had a lot of momentum. They had a, big moment against them, and the Magic came in swinging right in the beginning. Right in the beginning, came in swinging against Charlotte. Took a 38-16 lead in the first quarter. The defense was amazing. Throughout the whole game, the defense was amazing. Anthony Black and Jalen Suggs, and really just the whole team, but Anthony Black and especially Jalen Suggs, they came out. They came out and really stepped up on defense. And Jalen Suggs, he was just a pest. He was a pest. They, even though he fouled out of the game, he was a pest. He was not that this team was playing physical basketball. This is the team that we've been wanting to see all season. They've been using their length, their size, the physicality. This is what the Magic was supposed to be all season long, and now we're seeing it here in the postseason. And it's so great to see. It's so great to see this team really find their identity, even though it's very late into the season. But this is the season that matters, the postseason. This is the postseason that matters. The Magic beat the Charlotte Hornets in the play-in for that eighth seed spot. Honestly, it's probably good that they do face, the Detroit Pistons. I think that's a much better matchup for the Magic. But they beat the brakes off the Hornets, 121-90. And they've also taken game one against the Detroit Pistons, 112-101. What a great heading to Detroit and taking game one against the number one seed in the East. That's gotta feel pretty darn good if you're the Magic. And they came out with the same intensity, same physicality, same drive as they did against the Charlotte Hornets. They didn't take their foot off the gas. They're all go. And Detroit is gonna come back with an answer. And that this team is not gonna give up. They're the number one seed. Detroit is going to come back at you. They're going to throw punches. They're going to throw haymakers. And the Magic need to be ready for that. Are they going this team's demeanor seems very different. This team energy, it feels very different now. And like Paulo said in the locker room after, game one in Detroit, don't start drinking the Kool-Aid. Don't start drinking the Kool-Aid. And he's right. Don't get too excited now. You got three more games to win. It's a game. It's four games. You got to win four games. It's a game to four, series to four. But and this is all what matters. But I love how this team is playing more physical now. This team, you know, they came in here to the Charlotte Hornets, and like I said, the defense is something that that should have been happening all season. This is the team that we expected to be a top four seed, and now they're looking like a top four seed, the Orlando Magic. They came in here, uh, against Charlotte here. They were up 35 after the first half. LaMelo did try in that third quarter. Um, he had like I think 19 or 21 points in that third quarter. He had a little bit of a run going, but the Magic they didn't let off. Uh, they kept the intensity on defense. The Magic just kept pressuring them, and the transition offense was really well in that Charlotte game. They played to their strengths. They were getting inside the paint, and that's the Orlando strength right there is getting inside the paint. This team isn't the greatest shooting team, and we've known that, but they really played towards their strengths inside the paint. And I know after that Philly game, everyone has written off Paulo. They say this guy is a joke. This guy, he can't lead a team. But Paulo in the playoffs is just very different. It seems like this man keeps bringing seems to set the bar here in the postseason. And he did that. Paulo Banchero, he went off against, the Charlotte Hornets and he proved this to the haters wrong. And I think, he deserves an apology for that. I have always believed in Paulo, and I know there's always been this thing of like, hey, we got to get rid of Paulo. He's being very inefficient. But I don't agree with that take. I don't. I think Paulo is a great player. I still think he has a lot of development going on. I think he just really has to play to his strengths, which is getting inside the paint, working the post. And, he obviously he can shoot a little bit, but he still needs to work on his shooting. That's definitely one of his biggest themes that he needs to work on. But in this Charlotte game, he had 25 points, 9 of 17 from shooting, 2 of 6 from three, 5 of 8 from the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. I mean, the Magic still had a little bit stuff to work on. They had 14 turnovers in this game, but this team just looked amazing. The whole starting five was in double digits. Franz, 18 points. Wendell Carter, 16 points. Desmond Bane, 13. Even though he didn't have the best, shooting night, 4 or 14, but he still added. Jalen Suggs, like I said, amazing defense from Jalen Suggs. 12 points, 5 of 8 from the field, 2 of 5 from three, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. It's just the little things that they clean up, but the defense and the physicality, it's there again. It's what we wanted to see all season long, and we're starting to see that now. They held Charlotte to 34% from the field and 27% from the 3-point line, and we know this Charlotte team had the momentum. They started playing really well after this All-Star break, and we know this team loves to shoot threes. I think they were like the top three in 3-point shooting this season. And the Magic locked them down on that. And their defense really won them this game. And that's what the Magic just have to do. Play defense, play physical, and they're going to win. They're going to win games. Magic shot 50% from the field. Most of their points came from in the paint. 64 points in the paint. That's where they're strongest at. Once you get inside the 3-point line, that's where you're going to be deadly. And they even did the same thing against the Detroit Pistons. Paulo Banchero proving the haters wrong with 23 points, 8 of 15 from the field, 2 of 4 from three, nine rebounds, 4 assists, 3 turnovers. But that's fine. This team really held it together, even when Detroit fought back and they either tied it up. The Detroit Pistons never led this game. Let me make sure. Yeah, they never led this game in game one at all. Now, the Detroit Pistons did tie it back in the third, but Magic didn't. The old Magic, if the old Magic would have given up that lead, they would have given up at once Detroit made a run. They would have. They would have given up. But like I said, this after that Philly loss, and especially after the Boston loss in the regular season against the G League, against basically a G League team, this whole team's demeanor, energy, determination has just completely switched. It's all gas now. There's no brakes on this team. This team wants to prove everyone wrong. in this game against Detroit, you know, they Magic shot 49% from the field, 29% from three. Still not their, like I said, not their biggest strong suit, but they really got in the paint in this game against Detroit. That's where they played their strongest. You know, 54 points in the paint. That's where they're going to succeed. They held Detroit to 40% from the field, 31% from three. The defense is really showing. We're seeing a top five defense from this team that we should have seen all season, but the, just the fire wasn't there. I I don't know what flipped. I know, you know, that video that Mosley showed of all the players' highlights back of them in college, and I guess that's just what it had to be. But it's really great to see this Magic team really finding, even though it's so late on, but really finding their way into this team that we wanted to see succeed. They really crashed. They had 26 assists this game. They really moved the ball well against this Detroit team. They're just looking like it's more free flowing. The game just comes right to them. You know they pass the ball well. They're looking for open shots. They're not trying to force anything anymore. They still have 12 turnovers, which they still need to limit those 12 turnovers. That's the biggest thing. Um, they conceded uh, 18 points off of those turnovers, which is really well for the Magic. Detroit was able to concede 17. So that's what I say. We got to limit those turnovers, and that's one of the biggest things that's going to win the series is limiting those turnovers and staying physical on defense and throughout the whole series because that's what's going to win you the game. Because Detroit, they're number one. Even though this Detroit team, especially with Cade Cunningham, you're going to have to make a game plan for him. He had 36 points against this Magic team. Um, or sorry, 39 points. Uh, Now, obviously, their second highest score was Tobias Harris. And you kind of question who's going to be their second option for scoring. Who's going to be the main guy, you know, coming into this game two. Because at this point, you got to make a game plan for Cade because Cade's their main option. He's their number one guy. He's their number one offense. Um, and that's what you got to figure out what's going to work, and you just got to keep playing physical defense still, because this Detroit team they're not going down without a fight. They're not going to be the number one seed that is going to lose to an A seed. They're going to come back swinging, and so like I said, you got to keep the physicality there. You got to keep playing to your strengths, get inside the paint, uh, driving to the paint, and that's what they did, in the Charlotte and game one here against Detroit. They played to their strengths by getting inside the paint where they're strongest at, getting higher percentage shots, playing more physical on defense and not just giving up on plays and giving up on defense and not letting, the opposing team when they go on a run, they just give up. This team is actually starting to mesh, build a bond, and I really think having Anthony Black and Franz Wagner back was just such a big help for this team, and it's amazing to see, um, and hopefully the Magic can keep going forward. And they play game two tonight at 7 in Detroit again. On Saturday they'll be back here in Orlando, and that Magic crowd's going to be insane loud. So really excited for that. So looking to make some content for that as well. So possibly stay tuned for that. But yeah, I'm really excited for how this team is playing. This team is playing really well. Even this Detroit game, we had, all the starters were in double digit points. Franz Wagner, 19 points. He had 11 in the fourth quarter against Detroit. 19 points, 7 of 13 from the field, 1 of 2 from three, 4 or 5 from the free throw line, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. Wendell Carter Jr., he's been playing exceptionally well. He's been playing really good, especially in that Charlotte game as well. Wendell Carter Jr., 17 points, 8 of 9 from the field, 1 of 2 from three, 7 rebounds, 5 assists. Desmond Bain, not the greatest shooting night, but he still played really well. 17 points, 7 of 20 from the field, 1 of 8 from three. Like I said, wasn't his best shooting night. I know he was a little bit sick in this game against Detroit. 6 rebounds, 5 assists. Jalen Suggs came out really hot in the first quarter, and like I said, was just a pest on defense. Jalen Suggs, 16 points, 6 of 16 from the field, 3 of 10 from three, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. They, like I said, they limited the turnovers, and that's what you want to see is, limiting those turnovers. But even if you do, got to play really great defense. That's what's going to win you this game, and especially in this series. I really think the Magic could have a real possible chance. I think they have such motivation now and just a burning passion to win. It kind of makes you wonder, though, what will happen if the Magic do win this series? What does that mean for this team? What does that mean for Mosley? Do they still move on from him? Is this a redemption arc for this team? Uh, like I said, it's a whole new season now. The regular season doesn't matter. It's all about the postseason and who wins in a series of four. Who gets to 4 wins first. So I think the Magic have a great chance at this, and I'm really excited to watch this series. I know this is going to be a gritty series against the Detroit Pistons. The Pistons aren't going to they're not just going to take a seat. They're going to come back swinging full haymakers. So I'm really excited. This is going to be a really great series. I think people really doubted the Magic on everyone. Everyone wanted to see Charlotte. I think everyone thought Charlotte was going to be a great series, but I think they're wrong. The Magic, I think they're gonna put on a great series against Detroit, and I think it could definitely go to a game six, game seven. So hopefully it doesn't take that long. Hopefully the Magic can finish it in 5 or 4. But we'll just have to see how they come out swinging in game two here. So like I said, game two tonight at 7 against the Detroit Pistons, and we'll be covering game two against Detroit. So thank you again for tuning in to Happy Hour Sports. My name is Sam Madrigal. We'll be covering Orlando Magic basketball. Thank you again, and have a great one.